Chapter 776. Yan Zhan and Big Beard obviously thought so too. Hence when he saw Yiqing Luo passing the scroll to Zhao Bo, there wasn't a single trace of fear or panic on his face. The four of them got off the platform and returned to their seats. All the mercenary groups that participated in the random mission activities have received their mission scrolls, right? The elder's dignified gaze swept across the people below, and his voice was steady and loud. Yes. The mercenary group responded in unison, raising the mission scroll in their hands. The elder nodded. The process of this random mission was a small interlude suggested by the invincible mercenary group. This elder will represent the mercenary guild as a witness, and will make the most impartial judgment for the result of the invincible mercenary group and the blood demon mercenary group challenging the world mercenary group. The mercenaries were confused. They all knew that the Mercenary Association's young master Mo Hanshang had joined the world group. Logically speaking, in order to maintain the reputation of the Mercenary Union, the Mercenary Union would never allow this challenge to stand. If the world group lost, the public opinion would then shift from the world group to Mo Hanshang and eventually implicate the Mercenary Association. But the truth was, when Yan Zhan issued the challenge, the elder did not stop him at all. Instead, he maintained an approving attitude. In the end, he even acted as a witness for this challenge. Could it be, they had so much confidence in Mo Hanshang and the world group? On behalf of the Mercenary Union, I would like to apologize for wasting so much of your time. Now I, the elder, officially announce the start of the random mission. As soon as he finished speaking, thunderous applause resounded throughout the hall. At the same time when the applause stopped, an enraged voice rang. Elder, my Blue Dragon Mercenary Group is applying to the Mercenary Guild to cancel the World Mercenary Group's establishment rights. Jitsong Tian stood up from the crowd as his face was filled with anger. The mercenary groups that were about to leave immediately stopped in their tracks. There was indeed such a rule in the Mercenary Guild's rules. If a mercenary group caught another mercenary group violating the rules of the Mercenary Union and provided evidence, they would have the right to apply to the Mercenary Union to cancel the qualifications of the other mercenary group. However, in the past few decades, there had never been a case of other mercenary groups being disqualified. Everyone's gazes congealed towards Jitsong Tian. The elder on the stage frowned slightly. The World Group's vice group leader Yiqing Luo 1 month ago in the Magic Beast Forest, snatched our group's mission item and even insulted us. In the end, we even lured out an even higher-level Earth Mirage Beast, killing 44 of our brothers. When Jitsong Tian spoke, he seemed to be gritting his teeth as every single word came out from the slits of his teeth. Hidden in each word was a huge burden and anger. Hearing Jitsong Tian's accusation, the other mercenary group's group leaders or mercenaries' faces instantly turned black as the gazes they shot towards Yiqing Luo and the others turned even colder. Stealing mission items was a taboo in the mercenary world. Hearing this, Zhao Bo clenched his fists tightly, the expression on his face constantly changing. His initial astonishment turned into disbelief, and in the end he seemed to have been bitterly disappointed. Zhao Bo's eyes widened. The shame and anger that he had been suppressing in his chest made Zhao Bo restless. He was blind back then, which was why he entered the Blue Dragon Mercenary Group, treating Jitsong Tian as his benefactor and brother. How could Jitsong Tian turn black into white? Zhao Bo couldn't take it anymore. He took a step forward and was about to speak. His wrist was grasped by a fair and slender finger. Zhao Bo looked back. Chapter 777. Jitsong Tian saw Zhao Bo taking a step forward and was just about to use the words which he had prepared to attack Zhao Bo. But he saw Zhao Bo suddenly retreating, not saying a single word. His expression suddenly turned extremely ugly. This was as though he had held in all his energy but the feeling of letting out a fart. In the eyes of the other mercenary groups, this action of standing out and retreating was indirectly tacitly agreeing to Jitsong Tian's words. Because the world group had no way to rebuke him. Seeing the other mercenary groups looking at the world group in disdain, Lan Ling Nu used a sobbing tone as she choked. 44 lives. 44 lives, ah. The world group's mercenaries at such a young age already disregarding human lives like grass in future. She stopped there and didn't continue speaking. But how could the other mercenary groups not hear the meaning in Lan Ling Nua's words? Now they were already so arrogant, disregarding human lives. If these young men and young ladies were to grow up and the world group developed, wouldn't they massacre the entire mercenary association? After going through so much hardship and with the help of our brothers, we finally killed that mirage beast. But these people from the world group took the opportunity when we were exhausted from the fierce battle with the mirage beast to forcefully take over the mirage beast which we had killed. The last sentence was said by the more furious he got, as his face was filled with anger as it kept leaking outwards. One had to admit that Xianxia had arranged this story extremely well. Every single word and sentence was able to strike the other mercenary groups' hearts. As mercenary groups, what they hated the most was other mercenary groups taking advantage of when they were the most exhausted to forcefully take over their spoils of war. As compared to Xianxia, who said that Yiqing Luo was poaching, forcefully taking over the mission item was even more infuriating. As long as they stirred up these mercenary groups' emotions, they would be able to easily pull these mercenary groups into their own camp. That mirage beast was exchanged with my group's brother's blood, but it was so easily snatched away by the world group. I originally wanted to forget about this matter. After all, you are a newly established mercenary group and a bunch of young men and young ladies. Our Celestial Phoenix Academy had always taught us to let people off whenever possible. Since the item had already been snatched away by you, at most we'll just take a detour when we meet you in future. But I really didn't expect that. You actually poached my team's capable general. The more he spoke, the angrier he became. His eyes widened and his veins bulged. Ever since the day Blue Dragon Mercenary Group was established, Zhao Bo and his gang had always been following me, our 5 years of relationship. 5 years of love. Now he was poached by the world group. Xianxia clenched his fists tightly as he stared straight at the elder. Today, no matter what, I will seek an explanation for the Blue Dragon Mercenary Group's brothers and for those 44 brothers who died. The whole place was silent. After a while, the crowd began to clamor. Elder. Such a heartless, unjust, and vicious mercenary group must be eliminated as soon as possible. To be so vicious at such a young age. Such a bandit. Today he actually had the face to lead the traitor he had poached and openly participate in a random mission. How shameless. We will jointly apply to the Mercenary Association to cancel the World Mercenary Group's establishment rights. Countless mercenary groups expressed their dissatisfaction and anger. Xianxia looked at everyone standing on his side as his eyes were filled with a delighted smile. The corners of his lips couldn't help but curled into an arc. Luckily Lan Ling Nuo discovered it in time as she pinched his arm fiercely. Chapter 778. Everyone was pointing fingers at them and the entire place was filled with ridicule. If it was an ordinary mercenary group, they would definitely not be able to take on this kind of pressure. However, under the crowd's curses, the world group's 6 people remained calm as they sat lazily on their own seats. Only Zhao Bo stood beside Yiqing Luo as his fists clenched tightly. His face was filled with unconcealable rage as he stared deadly at Xianxia with sparks flickering in his eyes. His calm demeanor infuriated the mercenary groups. A few tyrannical group leaders directly raised their fists as they charged over. A bunch of little brats. You're about to die and you still don't know how to repent. Let me teach you a good lesson. With one person taking the lead, the other mercenary groups also charged up. How dare you create trouble in the Mercenary Association? Mo Hanshang stood up abruptly as his delicate features were filled with dignity as he shouted out sharply. He stood upright as his gaze was like a torch as he coldly swept a few glances at those group leaders. This young patriarch wants to see how you're going to teach us a lesson. Those mercenary group leaders who were filled with righteous indignation stopped in their tracks. They felt injustice for Xianxia, but it was impossible for them to ruin their own futures. Young Patriarch Mo. Xianxia's brows creased. As the Mercenary Association's young patriarch, you'll bring shame to the Mercenary Association if you're together with this kind of notorious mercenary group. Mo Hanshang scoffed coldly as the disdain and cold ridicule in his eyes grew thicker. Blue Dragon Group leader must have forgotten that you mentioned forcefully taking over the mission item, forcefully taking over the Mirage Beast. This young patriarch is all present. The minute he said that, the entire Mercenary Association instantly fell into silence. The Mercenary Association's young patriarch was all present? The underlying meaning was that Mo Hanshang was also involved in forcefully taking over the mission item, forcefully taking over the spoils of war? Or did he have other intentions? Mo Han Shang shot a disdainful glance at Ji Tian as he placed his hands behind his back and sneered, "Since you've finished weaving the story then, listen to what I have to say next." "Let me say it." Zhao Bo, who was standing by the side, had his muscles tensed up. He gritted his teeth fiercely as he made a difficult decision. "I've been friends with Ji Tian for 5 years, and I've established the Blue Dragon mercenary group for close to 4 years. Today it's indeed time to settle this." Originally, Zhao Bo wasn't willing to mention about Ji Tian's matters. What was in the past was in the past. Just take it as him preserving the last bit of face for Ji Tian, preserving the beautiful memories of him and Ji Tian supporting each other. But, with Ji Tian's overbearing manner, if he still didn't stand out and didn't speak up for the world group, because of him the world group would be branded as robbers and poaching by Ji Tian. "Zhao Bo." Ji Tian abruptly stood up as a fluster flashed past his eyes. After knowing each other for 5 years, Ji Tian had more or less grasped Zhao Bo's character. Although Zhao Bo had become a mercenary of the world group, he would not return to the Blue Dragon mercenary group. But at this critical moment, Zhao Bo, who valued loyalty the most, would not expose him for the sake of their past friendship. Ji Tian had not expected Zhao Bo to actually stand out, apparently wanting to tell them everything. The elder sharply realized that when Zhao Bo spoke up for the world group, Ji Tian was obviously feeling guilty. He immediately understood something. How could the mercenary group that their young master joined be such a heinous mercenary group? They were clearer than anyone else about their young master's foresight. With a chance to whitewash their young master's name openly, the elder waved his sleeves. "Speak. If there's any lie, this elder will punish you severely." Chapter 779. Ji Tian forcefully snatched the world group's mission item but was humiliated by the world group. How could Ji Tian disregard his own brothers for a woman, even sacrificing his brothers' lives to open up a path for him and Lan Ling Nua? How did Ji Tian hide in the world group's enchantment after the high-leveled mirage beasts appeared, not willing to help to deal with the high-leveled mirage beasts and even kept on insulting them? And so on and so forth. He used the simplest words to explain everything. "As for the reason why I left Blue Dragon mercenary group." At this point, Zhao Bo's voice started to tremble as though he had recalled a painful scene. No one would have thought that 5 years of love would be no match for a woman's pillow talk. Because of Zhao Bo and the others' rudeness in the magical beast forest, Lan Ling Nua developed a sense of disgust. After Lan Ling Nua woke up, she persuaded Ji Tian, confirming that they had the intention to betray Blue Dragon Group. Initially Ji Tian didn't believe it, but after all they had been brothers for many years, so he naturally understood him. But Lan Ling Nua used the excuse of, since he saw her body then he should be responsible for her, to start a cold war. Ji Tian could only follow Lan Ling Nua's intentions in order to gain the beauty's favor. Zhao Bo and more than 30 others were locked up. Lan Ling Nua took the opportunity to announce to the public that these 30 over people wanted to betray the Blue Dragon mercenary group and had the intention to rebel. Over time Ji Tian also felt that Zhao Bo wanted to betray him. Zhao Bo and his brothers were naturally furious. They had sacrificed their lives for the Song Dragon group, yet they ended up like this and even had to bear a bad name. How could these people who valued loyalty so much tolerate this? Naturally they would think of ways to escape, to look for Ji Tian for an explanation. He had not expected this kind of action to make Ji Tian believe in Lan Ling Nua's words even more, as he immediately killed the few brothers. Both sides fell out completely. Zhao Bo escaped from the Song Dragon Corps with the remaining 23 of his brothers. With no other choice he thought of the world group. You don't even trust the brother who has been with you for 5 years, and you choose to trust a woman who spreads lies to deceive people. In order to make that woman happy, you killed your own brother without any hesitation. You were ruthless and didn't show any mercy. Zhao Bo let out a bitter sneer. He did not want to recall this scene. They didn't want to believe that Ji Tian had really chopped off the head of his brother who had gone through thick and thin together, going through thick and thin together for Lan Ling Nua. He still remembered clearly that Ji Tian stepped on his brother's head, his long sword pointing straight at his face, and the murderous intent in his eyes was so intense. When the truth was revealed, it made all the mercenary groups present stared at Ji Tian in disbelief. He had not expected Ji Tian to be such a deranged person. He was willing to kill his own brother for a woman? Everyone looked at Lan Ling Nuo again. If Yiqing Luo wasn't around, Lan Ling Nuo could indeed be considered as an exceptional beauty. But after Yiqing Luo's comparison, especially after listening to Zhao Bo's description, everyone's impression of Lan Ling Nuo was only left with a femme fatale and bewitching image. Jitsong Tian fell onto the chair in terror as he opened his mouth to refute. No, I didn't. It's him, it's the World Group who intentionally tried to defame me. However, even he himself had no confidence in his rebuttal. How could he convince others? Lan Ling Nuo had always been a high and mighty princess who was the center of attention. No matter where she went, she would always enjoy envious gazes. Today she followed Jitsong Tian to the Mercenary Association, just to enjoy the treatment of a mercenary group's madam, to make others envious. She had not expected that the situation had developed into such a situation. Everyone's gaze towards her was filled with disdain and disgust. Chapter 780. Jitsong Tian's face was ashen as he stood there in a daze. Yes, he was certain that Zhao Bo would not betray him. He was certain that even if he killed Zhao Bo would absolutely not divulge anything which was disadvantageous to him. He was certain that Zhao Bo's departure wasn't because he wanted to betray him. Zhao Bo was just disappointed in him. Because of this, when that person looked for him, Jitsong Tian agreed to that person's deal straightforwardly. But all his certainty at this moment seemed extremely laughable. He had not expected that after Zhao Bo left Blue Dragon Mercenary Group, he went to the World Group. He had not expected that in just half a month's time, Zhao Bo was completely bought over by the World Group, completely betraying him. Jitsong Tian clenched his fists tightly as his venomous gaze stared fiercely at that enchanting lady who was still smiling in a relaxed manner. All of you are spouting nonsense. Zhao Bo, I've treated you well. We've been friends for 5 years and you can't even compare to a Yiqing Luo? Jitsong Tian struggled on his deathbed. He wanted to awaken Zhao Bo's conscience, awaken Zhao Bo's loyalty towards him. But when his pleading gaze met with Zhao Bo's eyes, all he saw was a piece of despair, like a lamp being extinguished. Zhao Bo's eyes had no spirit at all. It was as if all of his life had dried up along with him. This kind of drying up, Jitsong Tian understood it clearly. That was Zhao Bo mourning the death of their 5 years of friendship. I believe everyone present here knows very clearly what the truth is. Yiqing Luo's cold voice was mixed with a bewitching smile. She half squinted her eyes as her lips curled upwards, making her look even more enchanting. The 3 elders pointed furiously at Jitsong Tian as their voices were loud and clear. What a great Blue Dragon mercenary group, treating all of us as fools. You even dare to lie to this elder? Guards, bring this Jitsong Tian who is spouting nonsense down to this elder. From today onwards, Blue Dragon mercenary group's rights to establish a mercenary group will be revoked. Ji and Lan family will forever be blacklisted by the Mercenary Association headquarters. The 3 elders' consecutive words caused a huge uproar at the scene. When the 3rd elder mentioned about Ji family and Lan family, Jitsong Tian's expression instantly turned steely green. He stood up abruptly, his eyes filled with horror. The Bible. That's not what he said. That's not the result. He said that after today I will become a silver mercenary group. You can't do this to me. Jitsong Tian's mutterings made Yiqing Luo's eyes suddenly narrow. Her figure swayed slightly and that petite figure of hers had already closed in on Jitsong Tian. Yiqing Luo's charming eyes were eerie as she frowned and stared at him coldly. Him? Who is it? Yiqing Luo. Are you in cahoots with him to intentionally mess with me? This was the only reason Jitsong Tian could think of. If it wasn't for Yiqing Luo, if it wasn't for that person who used to upgrade to a silver plate mercenary group as a lure. How could he have fallen to such a state? You're still playing dumb? You're obviously following that person on purpose, deliberately making me. He didn't finish his words. Suddenly, a powerful, profound energy rushed over from afar. That profound chi was like a sharp blade, directly stabbing towards Jitsong Tian's back, from the direction of his heart. This profound energy. Why did it have a kind of déjà vu feeling? However, the profound energy's momentum was extremely fast, not allowing Yiqing Luo to think too much. Yiqing Luo avoided it ingeniously as her body was like a black butterfly spreading its wings, speedily retreating. At the same time, Ji Tian's reaction was swift. At the same time he turned around, he pushed Lan Ling Nua to one side. His other hand swiftly pulled the member who was sitting by the side, placing him horizontally in front of him. Chapter 781. Shrill screams resounded throughout the mercenary union. Fresh blood gushed out from that member's chest. That profound energy directly pierced through the group member's chest. Fresh blood splattered all over Ji Tian. Ji Tian casually threw the group member out as he bent over to pull Lan Ling Nua into his arms. He immediately released his profound qi, and with a tap of his toes, he had already turned into lightning as he sprinted towards the Mercenary Association's outer area. Before he left, he even turned his head and gave Yiqing Luo a hateful stare. His eyes were filled with hatred and resentment. Chase them. How dare you kill someone in the mercenary guild? The elder immediately called out to the guards as they chased after Ji Tian. For a moment the entire mercenary guild fell into a strange atmosphere. No one had expected that someone would kill someone in the mercenary guild, and at this time, there were at least 100 high-level profound practitioners present. Wasn't the murderer afraid of being caught? However, it was also because of the appearance of this murderer that made all the mercenary groups completely believe in the world group's innocence. In order to survive, he did not hesitate to use his own brother to block in front of him. Even when they were escaping, they had to bring Lan Ling Nua along with them. This kind of person would definitely kill his own brother for the sake of a woman. With such a person as their leader, if it were them, they would also turn around and leave without hesitation. The farce ended just like that. The guards who secretly assassinated Ji Tian had searched within 100 miles but had not discovered any suspicious person. Whereas for Ji Tian and Lan Ling Nua, they seemed to have disappeared and there was no trace of them at all. The elders dismissed those mercenary groups and started to investigate Ji Tian's matter. The elders did not forget to blacklist the Ji and Lan families in the mercenary union headquarters. He even issued a kill order to track down Ji Tian's whereabouts. Yiqing Luo and the others walked out of the mercenary association and saw several tens of people standing not too far away, quietly waiting for them. Something happened. Mo Ying blinked her empty eyes and said faintly, "Just now there was killing intent. Did you see that?" Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as her vision swept across the surroundings. Mo Ying shook her head. The killing intent is too fast and the strong power is also very fast. It was almost fleeting. She had no time to grasp the source of that powerful force. Yiqing Luo didn't harbor any hope. A person that even Mo Ying couldn't sense, his strength was definitely beyond their imagination. Yiqing Luo's gaze trembled slightly. That person, could he be the him that Ji Tian mentioned? The one who used the Silver Plate mercenary group as a lure to make a deal with Ji Tian. That's right. It must be the him that Ji Tian mentioned. Otherwise he wouldn't have so coincidentally made a move to silence Ji Tian. That person's goal, it's her? This was absolutely not Yiqing Luo's narcissism or persecutory delusion. Instead it was a strong intuition. Because the profound qi which pierced towards Ji Tian was extremely familiar. But no matter how Yiqing Luo's retentive memory and shocking memory tried to recall, she was unable to recall when and where she was. He had come into contact with the owner of this profound qi. "Goddess! Goddess!" A woman's charming voice suddenly came from behind. Dressed in a peach-colored short skirt, Peach smiled like a flower as she waved at Yiqing Luo. She led a bunch of ladies who were as pretty as flowers and jade as she came right in front of Yiqing Luo. "Goddess, what mission have you drawn? So mysterious?" Peach stared curiously at the mission scroll in Zhao Bo's hands. Among the random missions, it was the rarest random mission. Chapter 782. Yiqing Luo pinched her brows as she regained her senses. Right now, the most important thing was to find a way to complete the random mission. Yan Zhan and Big Beard should have read the mission description in the scroll by now. They were probably going to have a headache. Invincible Battle Team and Blood Demon Team's mission is really unbearable. Peach patted on Yiqing Luo's shoulder, indicating her to look towards a direction not too far away. The expressions of Yan Zhan, the bearded man, and the leader of the Blood Demon group were extremely unsightly. They seemed to be discussing something with the scroll in their hands. The leader of the Blood Demon group angrily swung the scroll, occasionally throwing it in Yan Zhan's direction. Then he couldn't hold it in any longer and slammed it on Big Beardy's face. Big Beardy took the mission scroll with both hands and stood respectfully at the side, letting the leader of the blood demons reprimand him. Yanzhan stood at the side obediently. He was as arrogant as he was on the high platform, but now he was as cowardly as he was terrified. Qiao Jin's eyes lit up. Does Miss Tao know what the mission is? Peach raised her eyebrows and smiled proudly. Of course. Don't forget what our 3000 Peach Blossom group is good at. It was a group of informants who were responsible for gathering information. There are a total of 238 mercenary groups taking part in this random mission activity. Basically, other than you're the World Group's mission, which I don't know about, I roughly know about the other mercenary group's missions. Qiao Jin suddenly retracted the gold coin dart in his palm and gave a thumbs up to Tao Zi. Miss Tao is strong. I'm impressed. Peach giggled. His gaze landed on the ice-cold Yan Xiaoyi behind Qiao Jin. Her watery eyes seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. A trace of craftiness flashed across Peach's eyes. She acted as if she did not notice Yan Xiaoyi's presence. Instead, she moved closer to Qiao Jin and revealed a charming smile. Qiao Jin, since we're all friends, there's no need to call me Miss anymore. Just call me Peach. Qiao Jin wasn't a bashful person. Since the lady had taken the initiative to say so, he naturally had to give the lady face. He immediately put on a smile and shouted, Peach. Peach beamed with delight. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she discovered that Peach's vision wasn't placed on Qiao Jin. Instead, he glanced at Yan Xiaoyi from the corner of his eyes. This girl, what was he going to do? Although Yiqing Luo had sensed that Peach might have seen through Qiao Jin's outer appearance and had taken a fancy to his inner good looks. However, it felt like it was still lacking a little. Peach stood close to Qiao Jin. She controlled the distance between her and Qiao Jin very well. He didn't cross the line on purpose, but he wasn't rude either. It was more like, it was on purpose. This thought made Yiqing Luo's heart suddenly trembled as the gaze she shot at the Peach was filled with probing. By the side of her ear, Qiao Jin's sniggering was heard, interrupting Yiqing Luo's thoughts. He stared at Yanzhan and Big Beard, who were arguing with each other, and snickered, Peach, what mission did they get? Peach blinked her eyes and smiled slyly. If others want to know an answer from my mouth, they must pay the same price, but since it's you, Qiao Jin, who asked, I'll tell you for free. She crooked her finger and gestured for Qiao Jin to come closer. Qiao Jin didn't think too much about it. He laughed and lowered his head. The smile in Peach's eyes deepened. She slowly leaned over and whispered in his ear. The mission that they drew is... Chapter 783. Huh. Qiao Jin was stupefied. What did he mean by he was done for? Before he had time to ponder over the deeper meaning of these words, he felt a sharp pain at the back of his head. Pa! The sound of a palm brushing against skin rang out, extremely crisp and loud. Qiao Jin hugged his head, turning his head in a rage. Who is it? Yan Xiaoyi retracted her hand, a pure and innocent smile hanging on her face. Her bright eyes shone with an intelligent luster, but the coldness in her eyes made one shudder. Sorry, my hand slipped. Looking at the sweet smile on Yan Xiaoyi's face, all of Qiao Jin's reprimands and curses were stuck in his throat. He opened his mouth, but he didn't know what to say. Their eyes met for a long time. Just as Qiao Jin was about to open his mouth to speak, Yan Xiaoyi had already curled the corners of her mouth and turned to walk towards the exit of the Mercenary Association. Yan. Qiao Jin frowned and wanted to chase after him. But after taking a few steps, he stopped. His brows were tightly knitted together. He felt lost and extremely puzzled. Peach took in the changes in Qiao Jin's expression. The mischievous smile on her face deepened. The Invincible Guild's rare high-level mission is to collect 2 bamboo tubes of swamp vampire worms from the Spirit Swamp. The Spirit Illusion Swamp was mostly frequented by Silver Plate mercenary groups. Only the elite mercenaries of the Silver Plate mercenary group, or at least the first or second group of mercenaries, would have the confidence to complete this mission. The Spirit Illusion Swamp was most famous for the swamp bloodsucking worms. The swamp bloodsucking worm was a worm that hid in the swamp. This insect was very small. If it was alone, it wouldn't be aggressive. However, swamp bloodsucking worms usually moved in groups of more than 100. Although they were small, they were densely packed. Once a mercenary fell into the swamp, he would be instantly covered by these blood-sucking worms, and then all the blood in his body would be sucked away. It could be said that there was no mercenary that wasn't afraid of the swamp blood-sucking worms. Asking Yanzhan's mercenary group to catch 2 bamboo tubes of swamp blood-sucking worms? He reckoned that before he could even touch the blood-sucking worms he would be attacked by them. No wonder Yanzhan's face was ashen, as if he had nothing to live for. If they were the ones who drew this mission, they would probably have nothing left to live for. The Blood Demon Group's rare high-level mission is to head to the Chaos Crack and kill 10 Chaos Beasts. You must also preserve their internal organs. Peach covered her mouth and laughed so hard that she couldn't stand straight. No wonder the reward is 80 honor points. This was an impossible mission. These 80 points are just for show. Yiqing Luo agreed with this sentence very much. The primal chaos slit was the crack between the 4 continents. In modern terms, it was another plane in a parallel world. That plane was in a state of chaos. This is an extremely dangerous place. The beasts in the primal chaos realm were much more ferocious than those in the nirvana realm. If ordinary people entered the primal chaos realm, they would be affected by the primal chaos. Not to mention killing a beast of chaos and preserving its internal organs. This task was too difficult for the Blood Demon Mercenary Corps. One was the Spirit Illusion Swamp. One was the primal chaos realm. His luck was simply unparalleled. No matter how high their rewards were, they could only watch helplessly as the rewards passed them by. Of course, there was another way. Although the Blood Demon Group and Ever Victorious Group had agreed beforehand that they would only send out 98 people to challenge the World Group. But during the process of the challenge, the Mercenary Association wouldn't continue to monitor the process of the mission. Yanzhan could totally let all the members move together. There was a better way, and that was Chapter 784. However, could the Gorefiend group really be so fearless as to help Yanzhan obtain 50 honor points for free? Yiqing Luo didn't believe it. Otherwise, the leader of the Blood Demon group would not be holding this mission scroll and angrily scolding Yanzhan and Big Beard. Every man for himself, and heaven and earth destroy him. Not to mention an ambitious regiment commander. If this was any other time, it would be fine if he couldn't complete this mission. But now, their Blood Demon group had also participated in the competition with the World Group. If they lost to a Bronze Mercenary group, a newly established mercenary group made up of a bunch of kids, what face would they have left in the mercenary world? Now, the World Group's chance of victory has increased to 50%. Yiqing Luo raised her brows as she smiled lightly, her half-squinted eyes curved into an enchanting arc, blossoming with a captivating charm. Tong Ziqing looked at Zhao Bo. What's our mission? Everyone turned to look at Zhou Xian. Compared to the random missions of other mercenary groups, they were more concerned about the content of their random mission. Zhao Bo took a look at Long Yunzhan and Yiqing Luo, and seeing that the both of them had no intention to stop him, he then untied the golden silk ribbon on the scroll. Just as she was about to open the scroll, Yiqing Luo smiled at Peach. Peach, I have something to talk to you in private. Everyone was taken aback. Zhao Bo's hand paused in the middle of opening the scroll. Peach was engrossed in the scroll in Zhao Bo's hands when she suddenly heard Yiqing Luo's words, and her eyes flashed slightly. Then her lips curled into a mischievous smile. Okay. There was no complaint or dissatisfaction on Peach's face. She still had a faint smile on her face, and when her watery eyes gazed at Yiqing Luo, it was still clear without any impurities. Yiqing Luo's lips curled as she stretched out her hand. Peach placed her hand in Yiqing Luo's palm, and the two of them walked forward together. The two of them walked in the opposite direction of the mercenary union. After walking for about half an incense stick's time, there was no one else around. Yiqing Luo's cold voice suddenly rang. Are you blaming me? I don't blame you, Peach answered simply. If I were you, I would have done the same. This amiable and adorable lass. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but chuckled as she stretched out her hand and caressed her head. Thank you for understanding my feelings. He didn't want Peach to know the contents of the random mission because he was suspicious of Peach. On the contrary, she really liked this smart and obedient girl. The reason why he didn't let Peach know was because of Peach's identity. The leader of 3,000 peach blossoms. As the leader of a regiment, there were too many things he had to do. Yiqing Luo could not risk her own team. But I do have something to discuss with you. Yiqing Luo stopped in her tracks. A sly smile appeared in Peach's bright eyes. You want to tell me that Miss Yen likes Qiao Jin, right? Not expecting Peach to be so straightforward, Yiqing Luo was slightly stunned and immediately smiled. Not only does Xiaoyi like Jinzi, I think you can also tell that Jinzi towards Xiaoyi is also. I know. Peach was still smiling and the dimples on her cheeks were very attractive. That kind of smile, sweet and calm, but it made people feel a trace of sadness. A fleeting sadness. While Yiqing Luo was thinking about this feeling, Peach continued with a smile. In the mercenary union, when I saw Qiao Jin being so obedient and gentle towards Miss Yen, I could tell. Yes, Qiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi were attracted to each other and liked each other deeply. Then you. Chapter 785. I admit I like Qiao Jin. Peach calmly curled her lips as she faced Yiqing Luo, opened her arms and slowly retreated as though she was hugging the sun. But this kind of liking is only limited to my feelings towards a man. To put it more accurately, this feeling is admiration. She gave an extremely satisfied smile as her tone was relaxed. My liking towards him doesn't have that kind of impulse which makes me want to get him to make him my man. These words made the expression on Yiqing Luo's face change slightly. After a long time, the luster in her eyes revealed some gentleness. I don't know what good fortune Qiao Jin had accumulated in his past life, to actually have the honor to make you feel moved by him. Peach wasn't pretentious as she gave a sweet smile. Yes, to be able to make me feel moved, it is indeed his good fortune in his past life. This kind of intelligent and unpretentious girl, Yiqing Luo had always liked it. Moreover, Peach's lips curled up craftily as she blinked her eyes and smiled. Those two slow and arrogant people, if I don't add fuel to the fire, when will they be able to recognize their own hearts? This was indeed a serious question. If it was based on the progress of those two people, probably her and Dmo Xian's child was already a bystander and the two of them had yet to talk about being happily together. Cough. Why did she think of giving birth to a child with Dmo Xian? Yiqing Luo rubbed her face, trying her best to ease the redness on her face. But unexpectedly, just as she was about to put down her arms, Peach had already hooked onto her arm. I originally didn't intend to bring the Peach Blossom 3000 to take part in the random mission, but I heard that the world group would be coming, so I came today to be able to pluck up the courage to talk to you. Even if the first heartfelt relationship had ended before it even started, I still feel that it's worth it. Not waiting for Yiqing Luo to speak, the little girl released her arm. Her delicate little face was filled with adoration and love towards Yiqing Luo. Goddess, I still need to lead the group to complete the mission, so I won't disturb you any further. See you at the academy. Saying that, Peach had already turned around. The peach-colored dress was like a blooming peach blossom, drifting away with the wind. Looking at Peach's departing figure, Yiqing Luo sighed slightly. This girl was too obedient. So obedient that it made one's heart ache. When Yiqing Luo returned to the world group's location, the few of them were huddled together, frowning deeply. Yan Xiaoyi had also returned and was discussing something with Xiao Bo. The more they talked, the tighter her brows knitted together. On seeing Yiqing Luo's return, the few of them immediately welcomed her. Qiao Jin looked around. Where's the peach? Yiqing Luo almost choked on her saliva as she subconsciously looked towards Yan Xiaoyi. At this moment she wanted to correct Peach's words. How was Qiao Jin slow? He was obviously blind. There must be something wrong with his brain. If it wasn't because she knew Qiao Jin's character, she wouldn't have been able to help him. She was afraid that now, she was going to misunderstand. Was Qiao Jin unable to leave Peach for a while? Indeed, Yan Xiaoyi's originally extremely gloomy face turned even darker. Her slender fingers curled up one by one, as if she was restraining the anger in her heart. She still has a quest to complete, so she'll be leaving first. Yiqing Luo suddenly felt that the atmosphere was exceptionally heavy and immediately wittily changed the topic. What are you guys discussing? Why do you look so terrible? The topic was successfully changed. Chapter 786. On the mission scroll, a few words were clearly marked. Complex grade, experience training mission. Complex grade? Complex. Level. Yiqing Luo's hand shook as she took over the mission scroll and blinked her eyes. She didn't see it wrongly. It was really the words complex grade. Even if it was a complex grade experience training mission, it was equivalent to a high-grade rare mission. Complex grade missions were usually accepted by gold medal mercenary groups. Even a silver plate elite mercenary group might not necessarily accept a complex level mission. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched a few times. Wasn't their group's development a little too fast? On the first day of establishment, they had already accepted a high-grade rare mission which surpassed the high-grade rare mission, and almost lost their lives. Now, another complex grade mission had arrived. The mission content is to head towards Ling Ling King's tomb and bring the King Corpse Guard's coffin back to the Mercenary Association. Zhao Bo explained the mission in a concise and comprehensive manner. Ling Ling King's tomb. Yiqing Luo had heard of this place before. Ling Ling King was the war god from 1,000 years ago. He was sent to Nirvana Realm by the upper three realms to protect Nirvana Realm and maintain peace in Nirvana Realm. In the end, in order to protect Nirvana Realm, he died in that incomparable battle 1,000 years ago. Nirvana Realm's 4 great sects paid their respects to Ling Ling King and built a tomb for him which was located in the West Continent and Chaotic Realm which was adjacent to each other. Because of Ling Ling King's esteemed status, the 4 great sects patriarchs worked together to borrow a large portion of Death God Castle's arrays and mechanisms to protect Ling Ling King's tomb. It could be said that Ling Ling King's tomb was a place which numerous grave robbers wanted to infiltrate. But now that 1,000 years had passed, there was no news of any grave robber successfully infiltrating or coming out after infiltrating. Because of this, Ling Ling King's tomb became more and more legendary. Some even said that Ling Ling King wasn't dead at all. He was in Ling Ling King's tomb silently guarding Nirvana Realm. Some also said that it was the war god's soul, stopping all intruders who wanted to blaspheme his name. In the mission, the King Corpse Guard in front of Ling Ling King's tomb was also the target which everyone talked about. This Corpse King was once a corpse puppet created by the 4 sect masters from tens of thousands of corpses that had died violent deaths. Then he combined the powers of the 4 great sect masters to set up a formation for the corpse puppets. If someone tried to invade the main tomb, this corpse puppet would disregard everything and take the intruder's life. Then it would merge the intruder's corpse chi and become a part of the corpse puppet. Therefore this corpse puppet was known as the Guardian Corpse King. Their mission was to carry this corpse puppet's coffin out of the tomb of the Ling King and send it to the mercenary guild. This was undoubtedly courting death. It was no wonder that the youths were filled with melancholy. There was no way he could complete this mission. This mission was actually accepted by us. Mo Han Shang gave a bitter smile as his lips twitched. This mission had already been listed into the Mercenary Association's mission program over a month ago, but for an entire month, not a single mercenary group was willing to accept this mission. Of course, no mercenary group would accept it. Even a gold-ranked mercenary group would not take such a risk. Mo Han Shang continued to smile bitterly. Our group's luck, there's no one else like it. This was the last chance for the random mission. If they didn't complete it, it would be considered as giving up and another 100 honor points would be deducted. Giving up on that low-leveled training mission had already consumed 100 honor points. The world group's current honor points were only left with 90+ points and there was no way for them to give up on this mission. Chapter 787. Leader, Vice Leader, what should we do? Zhao Bo asked with an ugly expression. This was the first time he was doing a mission with a group ever since he joined the world group. He didn't expect to receive such a mission. As a veteran mercenary, Zhao Bo had a good understanding of the situation and danger levels of the various places in the Nirvana realm. The tomb of the Ling King was definitely a place they could not step into. Yiqing Luo's lips curled slightly as she exchanged glances with Long Yunzhan, reading the same thoughts from his eyes. Let's give it a try. How would we know if we don't try? Yiqing Luo rolled up the scroll and stuffed it back into Zhao Bo's arms. If you try, there might not be any hope. But if you don't try, there's definitely no hope at all. If it doesn't work, we'll retreat. Regardless of the danger, since this mission had landed in the world group's hands, she should have led the world group to give it her all and not shake her head and advise everyone to give up before they had even done anything. This was not her style. This was also not the style of the world group. The young mercenaries replied in unison, yes. Yiqing Luo's existence was their hope, their miracle. Even if it was a mountain of knives or a sea of fire, as long as Yiqing Luo nodded her head, they would march forward bravely without any fear. Because they knew, no matter how dangerous it was ahead, Yiqing Luo would travel together with them. Furthermore, he would do everything in his power to ensure their safety. Zhao Bo and the others were slightly taken aback. As though he had not expected that Yiqing Luo would choose to head towards King Ling's tomb. as though she had not expected that these youngsters, after hearing about the dangers of King Ling's tomb, would still unwaveringly agree with Yiqing Luo's words. Then the 20 or so old mercenaries grinned and laughed. Wasn't this the feeling they were pursuing? Yiqing Luo was indeed a lady filled with hope. Yiqing Luo naturally wouldn't head over rashly due to the dangers of Ling King's tomb. What's more, she still had to go back at night to give Ziling acupuncture treatment. Because of this, she had everyone return to the old mansion first, then had Qiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi go to the 3,000 peach blossoms and spend some money to obtain all the information about the Ling King's tomb. After all, this was a place where one's life was at stake. One had to be careful. The group of people returned to the old house in a mighty manner. When he walked in to ask around, he saw Holy Pirate holding a shiny gold bottle and carefully wiping it. He looked very sincere. "Grandpa Pirate, what are you doing?" Kitty Lee blinked her bright eyes. She looked at Holy Pirate with confusion. As he spoke, his small body quickly leaped over. Xiao Qiao's hand was already on Holy Pirate's shoulder. Bang! There was a loud noise as Holy Pirate's hand shook. The golden bottle in his hand fell to the ground and made a loud sound. "My golden bottle!" Holy Pirate knelt on the ground. His hands trembled as he tried to pick up the golden bottle, but his hands were shaking so much that he could not pick up the golden bottle. Holy Pirate's wrinkled face was full of sorrow. It was as if the thing he treasured the most had fallen to the ground and shattered. Kitty Lee was frightened by Stolen Saint's appearance. It was not that she was curious, but Holy Pirate's sincere attitude toward the golden bottle made her nervous. The mercenaries around them were also shocked. Only Zhao Bo and the others acted as if they were used to it. They picked up their teapots and went to the back hall to brew tea. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched as she walked directly to the front of Holy Pirate. She bent down and picked up the golden bottle. Holy Pirate's vision was glued onto the golden bottle as he followed Yiqing Luo's gaze. Chapter 788. It's made of gold, it won't break, what are you crying for? Yiqing Luo casually placed the golden bottle on the table. Holy Pirate put on a long face. Because it is a gold bottle, it should be kept safe. How can you be contaminated by the dust of the mortal world? This was the first time Yiqing Luo met someone who regarded gold as his life. He finally understood why Holy Pirate would walk the path of Holy Pirate. He was a person who was obsessed with gold. The fastest way to collect all the gold in the world was to steal. Didn't you go to the mercenary union to accept the mission? Why did you come back? God Thief hugged the golden bottle which Yiqing Luo had casually placed back into his arms, as though he was hugging a baby who was not even a month old, as he asked in disdain. If they had not suddenly returned, his golden vase would not have fallen to the ground. This hall, although it was called a hall, was more like a meeting hall. After God Thief had modified it, it was extremely spacious. Could accommodate at least 200 people. Yiqing Luo invited the other young mercenaries to sit down. She casually sat down next to Holy Pirate and supported her head with one arm. She lazily said, "I encountered a difficult mission. I have to investigate the general situation of the mission before I can act." She pointed at the teenagers around her. "Here, I'll leave these people in your care today. We'll depart tomorrow." Troublesome. God Thief raised his brows as he squinted at Yiqing Luo with interest as he put down the golden bottle in his hand. "You also have times when you're in a sticky situation?" Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes. "I'm also human." She was only a low-level profound practitioner, and her current strength wasn't strong to the point where she could summon clouds and rain with a flip of her hand, so why hadn't there been times when she was in trouble? Could it be that in Holy Pirate's eyes she had become a god? As though he had seen through Yiqing Luo's thoughts, God Thief sat down next to her. "If you're not a Grand Luo Immortal, then how are you going to save me from Death God Castle's underground prison?" "Death God Castle?" Zhao Bo was stunned. "You're really God Pirate?" At first, when he heard Holy Pirate shout, he thought he was worshipping Holy Pirate. However, when he heard about Death God Castle, he thought about Holy Pirate's skills. Zhao Bo seemed to have understood something. In his memory, the name of Saint Thief had fallen in Death God Castle for a total of 10 years. He then linked it to the news that the World Group had received a rare mission, and after completing it, they became a bronze plate mercenary group. Then this mission was definitely related to Death God Castle. And in the process of doing the task, he also brought out Holy Pirate? Suddenly, Zhao Bo was filled with confidence for the quest in the tomb of the Ling King. Holy Pirate frowned. He pointed at his nouveau riche outfit and said, "Of course I am the real holy pirate. How could I be fake?" The mercenaries present had all heard of the legend of Holy Pirate. No matter how he looked at it, he felt that the nouveau riche old man in front of him was completely different from how the legends described him. Faced with everyone's doubtful gazes, Holy Pirate snorted arrogantly. "Tell me, what is the mission this time?" Everyone was taken aback. Yiqing Luo's curly long eyelashes fluttered as she reacted, "Are you going to help us?" Holy Pirate had white hair on his temples. He raised his eyebrows and said, "Since you saved me, I naturally have to repay you. I, Holy Pirate, have to repay kindness." Yiqing Luo wasn't bashful at all. Right now, Zhou Xian had returned to the Imperial Palace to settle some matters. Something which required Zhou Xian to return personally to settle would definitely be tricky. At this juncture, Yiqing Luo couldn't trouble Zhou Xian. The information and contents of the Ling King's tomb could only rely on the information provided by the 3,000 peach blossoms. If she had Holy Pirate's help, not only would the mission completion rate increase. Chapter 789. Our mission this time is to go to the tomb of the Ling King. When he said the last 4 words, the holy thief's pupils suddenly dilated, and his expression revealed slight astonishment. Yiqing Luo naturally noticed the changes in God Thief's expression. Her heart sank and her brows furrowed. God Thief seemed to be familiar with the tomb of the Ling King. Moreover, something that he feared must have happened in the tomb of the Ling King. "Young lady, your luck." After some time, God Thief seemed to have noticed his own absent-mindedness as his gaze fixed onto Yiqing Luo once again, as a sliver of helplessness surfaced on his face. He propped himself up and shook his head. "Last month it was Death God Castle, this month it's the tomb of King Ling. Then next month wouldn't it be the Upper Realm?" Yiqing Luo coughed lightly. It was hard to say whether his luck was good or heaven-defying. Even the rare random mission scroll was taken away by her. It had been more than a month since anyone had accepted the complex quest, and now it was randomly assigned to her random quest scroll. It could only be said that the heavens had decided for her to take on this mission. "The tomb of the Tomb King is not a simple tomb," Holy Pirate said with a sigh. "I am sure you have heard about it. It is the Tomb King of the God of War from 1,000 years ago." He did not expect it to be the tomb of the Ling King. It was no wonder that this last would find it troublesome. Even if he were to personally take action 10 years ago, he might not be able to escape unscathed. Yiqing Luo brought along such a large bunch of immature children to head towards the Ling King's tomb, and that would be even more dangerous. The mausoleum of the mausoleum of the mausoleum is backed by a mountain, and the flood dragon is holding down the formation. The inside of the mausoleum is filled with formations and traps, and there are also the Corpse King and other corpse puppets guarding it. To you this is an impossible task. God Thief paused and his expression became grave. "Little girl, are you sure you want to bring so many people to the tomb of King Ling? We still have to try." Yiqing Luo nodded. How could he know if it was something he had never done before? She would do everything in her power to lead the team away from danger. If an accident happened, she would not regret it. If he didn't even have a bit of adventurous spirit, how could he be qualified to be a mercenary? Mercenaries lived their lives with their heads tied to their waistbands. Mercenaries lived in danger every day. When their lives were on the line, they would gain enlightenment and advance. God Thief looked at the sparkle in Yiqing Luo's eyes as his wrinkled face revealed an affectionate smile. He chuckled and shook his head slowly. He seemed helpless, but he also seemed to have made up his mind. "I, the Holy Pirate, am a man of my word. When will you depart?" "I will go with you. Latest by tomorrow." Yiqing Luo thought for a moment and set a time. After giving Ziling acupuncture tonight, she should be able to get out of bed tomorrow and do the simplest of rehabilitation operations. Yan Xiaoyi and Xiao Jin should be able to bring back the information about the Ling King's tomb tonight. It was about time to depart tomorrow. Holy Pirate nodded. He stretched his body and said, "It has been years since I last moved my old bones. Tomorrow I will be able to stretch them out." "Don't torment your old bones." Yiqing Luo stood up. "I'll make a trip back to Three Springs Sect first and come back tonight." Three Springs Sect. Yiqing Luo had just returned to the courtyard when she heard Hong Mei mention that old Madame Ye's memorial tablet had already been sent to the courtyard by old Madame Yi early in the morning. Hong Mei had already prepared a small-scale ancestral hall in the courtyard and had invited the Daoist to perform the ritual, placing Madame Ye's memorial tablet in the courtyard. When Yiqing Luo heard that, her expression remained calm. She didn't say that she was going to thank old Madame, but directly went to the small ancestral hall. After staying in the ancestral hall for 1 hour, Yiqing Luo then came out. Chapter 790. 7th Miss, Old Matron Wang is here. Hong Mei went up and lowered her voice. Old Matron Wang, old Madame's attendant. Yiqing Luo wasn't surprised. Old Madame's spies were everywhere in and out of Three Springs sect residence. She didn't intentionally hide her return. Old Madame had a favor to ask of her, so naturally she would keep an eye on her movements. Yiqing Luo nodded and didn't ask what old Madame Wang had said. Instead she asked about Ziling's condition. Hong Mei was feeling anxious, but on seeing Yiqing Luo's composure, she could only go along with Yiqing Luo's words. Ziling is an obedient lady and is recovering very well. Did old Madame look for Ziling? Hong Mei shook her head. Old Madame has been chanting scriptures in the nunnery today, and third Madame is accompanying old Madame to copy the scriptures. As old Madame was devoted to Buddhism, a nunnery was set up in old Madame's courtyard. Old Madame's favorite place was the nunnery. Yiqing Luo scoffed lightly. Old Madame must have taken her mother's memorial tablet and recalled how she had harmed her mother that year. Hence she felt guilty and wanted to go to the nunnery to ease her mood. When she was young, she had done too many evil deeds. When she was old, even if she was devoted to Buddha and was full of Buddhist teachings, it was unable to cover up her bloody hands. Let's go to old Madame. Yiqing Luo concealed the chill in her eyes as she said calmly. Hong Mei heaved a sigh of relief and immediately reminded, Sovereign has also received the news and rushed back. He's now in eldest young Miss courtyard. Eldest young Miss? Yiqing Qian? What were Yi Tianquang and old Madame doing in Yiqing Qian's courtyard? Second Prince sent eldest young Miss back. Hong Mei's gaze swept the surroundings and immediately went forward to support Yiqing Luo respectfully as she whispered into her ear. I heard that when Second Prince sent eldest young Miss back, his expression was extremely terrible and eldest young Miss's face was filled with tears. Yiqing Luo raised her brows in interest. Leng Fengying actually sent Yiqing Qian back. Did it mean that he had given up on Yiqing Qian? He had yet to recoup his losses from Yiqing Qian. Was Leng Fengying really willing to give up? Let's go to eldest sister's courtyard to take a look. To be able to force Yi Tianquang back, Yiqing Qian's matter this time was not small at all. Other than Hong Mei, Yiqing Luo couldn't find another trustworthy person in the courtyard. Naturally, he left Hong Mei in the courtyard. She went straight to Yiqing Qian's courtyard. Just as he reached the door, he saw old maid Wang standing there. Apparently, the matter of her coming to Yiqing Qian's courtyard had already been notified to old Grand Madame. Seventh young Miss, you're finally back. Old Madame has been nagging about you for the entire day. Old Madame Wang's lips curled into a smile as she walked up and held onto Yiqing Luo's arm. Her attitude represented her ancestor's attitude. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes. From the looks of it, Yiqing Qian's White Lotus skill had failed this time round. The old ancestor's heart was now on her side. Yiqing Luo didn't reply to her, so old Madame Wang continued to nag on about how concerned this old madam was towards her. Not too long later, the both of them arrived at Yiqing Qian's room. Standing outside the door not too far away, they could hear Yiqing Qian's sobbing as well as Yi Tianquang's furious curses. Occasionally, old Grand Madame's icy cold voice would be heard. Qian, the child in your womb, whose is it? You must tell this old one clearly. It's Second Prince's. Second Prince's. Yiqing Qian whimpered in agony. Old Grand Madame, don't you dote on me the most? Don't you trust me the most? Why is it that I've told you so many times, you still don't believe me? Chapter 791. Yiqing Luo raised her brows in interest as her slender fingers caressed her smooth lower jaw. It turned out that old Grand Madame had found out about Yiqing Qian's pregnancy. Thinking about it, she said that Yiqing Qian was pregnant in front of thousands of people at the academy's entrance and guessed the father of this child. This news naturally spread like wildfire. Moreover, Yiqing Qian had not only lost her chastity in front of the old minister and second prince, but in front of thousands of people. Everyone saw it clearly. How could old Madame, who had always cherished her reputation, tolerate this? Otherwise, old madam would not have expressed goodwill to her time and time again. She even personally brought her mother's memorial tablet over. Vile spawn. Vile spawn. Yi Tianquang's furious voice was extremely loud. How could my Yi family raise such a shameless girl like you? This child is already 2 months old. How could it be second prince's? Yi Qingqian only sobbed softly. No matter what, this child Yi Qingqian could only push it to Leng Fengying. Otherwise, not to mention that this child could not be kept. Even her life would probably be killed by Yi Tianquang in order to wash away the Yi family's humiliation. Eldest young miss, this matter is not a small matter. If this reaches the monarch, it will not be easy to clean up. Lady Baiming's voice was gentle. Yi Tianquang heard that and immediately flew into a rage as he quickly walked to the bedside and grabbed Yi Qingqian's clothes. Vile spawn. Tell me quickly. Whose child is in your womb? Yi Qingluo laughed lightly. This Lady Baiming was indeed an intelligent lady. She looked as though she was worried for the Yi family, but in actual fact, she had grasped Yi Tianquang's thoughts. Yi Tianquang was most concerned about his current status. How would he dare to offend the current monarch? If it was eldest Prince Leng Fenghua's child, Yi Tianquang could still directly hand the child over to the monarch and on account of the child, send Yi Qingqian to King Ping's fief. But if this child was Leng Fengying's, which meant that after Yi Qingqian snatched her sister's fiancé, she also hooked up with second prince at the same time. This was the royal family's scandal. Right now, in the entire royal family, only second prince Leng Fengying was able to assume the position of crown prince. If this scandal were to spread, if Leng Fengying really became the crown prince, not only would the civil and military officials not be able to accept it, even the commoners would not be able to accept such a crown prince as their future monarch. This could easily cause panic in the Western continent. If the monarch were to find out about this, he would definitely punish the Yi clan and push all the blame onto the Yi clan in order to protect the royal family's reputation. As for Yi Qingqian's thoughts, Yi Qingluo was very clear about it. He admitted that the child was Leng Fenghua's. Yi Qingqian would definitely be sent to King Ping's fief. Leng Fenghua's personality, after he had fallen this time, he had completely darkened. If he were to see Yi Qingqian, this woman who had betrayed him, how would he treat her? He was afraid that Yi Qingqian's life would be worse than death. As for the child in her belly, would Leng Fenghua believe that it was his? On the contrary, they could only grab onto Leng Fengying, this life-saving straw, tightly, in order to have a chance of survival. If Leng Fengying wanted to give up this chess piece of his, Yi Qingqian would definitely rather die in glory than live in disgrace. Insisting that this child was Leng Fengying's, Leng Fengying could forget about becoming the crown prince properly. Yi Qingqian had probably never thought that there would be a day where she would end up in such a state. If she wanted to blame, she could only blame her cheap mouth. Leng Fengying had probably never thought that he had schemed for so many years, just for a chance to climb up. But now his most fatal weakness was held by a woman. If she wanted to blame, she could only blame him for being greedy. Chapter 792. Yi Qingluo's chuckle attracted the attention of the people in the room. Old Seven, you're back. Grandma will accompany you for dinner in a while. Old Grandmadam's stern face softened when she saw Yi Qingluo. Yi Tianquang's face was ashen, looking at Yi Qingluo's eyes. Although not as gentle as old Grandmadam's, there was no longer the disgust and hatred in the past. He just nodded lightly. It's good that you're back. Go to the hall and wait, the family will have a good meal later. Their gentle words were indeed a great stimulus to the delicate woman lying on the bed. Since when did the people in the family try to please her like this? Even when she sacrificed everything to hook up with Leng Fenghua and obediently followed all their arrangements. Old Grandmadam had never tried to please her. Her father had never tried to please her. Yi Qingluo didn't do anything. No, Yi Qingluo ruined her. It was Yi Qingluo who ruined her. But she received old Grandmadam and Lord Father's flattery and gentleness? Why was she the one who was abandoned? Yi Qingqian's hateful gaze was like a poisonous snake, entangling Yi Qingluo. He hated Yi Qingluo. She hated Yi Qingluo for taking everything away from her, hated Yi Qingluo for destroying everything. If she really died, before she died she must bring Yi Qingluo to hell. How could Yi Qingluo not feel the strong hatred? Yi Qingluo calmly and indifferently met Yi Qingqian's hateful gaze. The smile on her lips deepened. Eldest sister has been abandoned by the second prince? She didn't care about the presence of old grandmadam and Yi Tianquang around and slowly walked to the bedside. Old grandmadam and Yi Tianquang didn't stop her. When Yi Qingluo came to the courtyard, they put on a show of completely abandoning Yi Qingqian. Wasn't it for Yi Qingluo to see? They naturally wouldn't let Yi Qingluo leave like this. Yi Qingqian trembled and shrank back, her eyes were full of fear. What do you want to do? Yi Qingluo just stopped by the bedside, slightly leaned over, half squinted her charming eyes, narrow and long and charming. What can I do? I just want to take a good look at big sister who looks like a stray dog. She chuckled, her charming eyes roaming, unable to conceal the ridicule. Big sister always thought that she was the real chess player. Now, as an abandoned chess piece, what does big sister think? Yi Qingqian's eyes widened, filled with hatred. Yi Ting. Eldest sister is not only abandoned by the second prince. Yi Qingluo's body slowly moved closer to Yi Qingqian's ear. The chilly voice was like a chilly wind, following Yi Qingqian's eardrums, straight into her heart. Even the Yi family has given up on eldest sister. Yi Qingqian was so angry that her whole body was trembling. Suddenly, Yi Qingqian's entire face turned pale as she clutched her chest with one hand and pressed her abdomen with the other. Yi Qingluo's slender brows raised slightly as she revealed a treacherous sneer. In the blink of an eye, the silhouette beside Yi Qingqian's ear was already standing at the door of the room. At the same time, Yi Qingqian spurted out a mouthful of blood. In that blood there was actually a piece of minced meat. She was so angry that she spat out the blood in her heart. Yi Qingqian lay weakly on the bed, her resentful and hateful gaze locked on Yi Qingluo. Yi Qingluo, even if I become a ghost, I will not let you off. She tore her throat, sharp and resentful. Like a curse, it went straight into Yi Qingluo's eardrums. Chapter 793. However, standing at the door, the cursed main character glanced at her with a faint smile. Elder sister, you can't do anything to me as a human, let alone as a ghost. After speaking, Yi Qingluo no longer cared about Yi Qingqian's unwillingness and hatred. She turned around and left Yi Qingqian's room. For a woman like Yi Qingqian, her heart and worldview had long lost the existence of the three views. To Yi Qingqian, she only felt that everything that she had done was right and proper. And those who disobeyed her and stopped her were not tolerated by heaven and earth. Yi Qingqian was jealous of Yi Qingluo's position as the first wife's daughter, jealous that Yi Qingluo could be engaged to Leng Fenghua and become the future crown princess. Therefore, she humiliated Yi Qingluo, framed her, and even snatched Leng Fenghua to prove that she was stronger than the first wife's daughter. But Yi Qingqian had never thought about it. Was the first wife's daughter what Yi Qingluo wanted? Moreover, even if Yi Qingluo was the first wife's daughter, wasn't Yi Qingluo's life more miserable than a servant's? At least Yi Qingqian had a mother who loved her dearly and a father who loved her. Even the cold and sinister old ancestor loved her. What else could she not be satisfied with? It was just Yi Qingqian's own greed. But she had to put all the blame on herself. All of this, Yi Qingqian only had herself to blame and no one else. In the hall, the table was full of delicacies. Yi Qingluo lazily leaned on the soft chair and slowly ate the food. On the opposite side, the three people looked at each other. After a while, Yi Tianquang couldn't help but put down the chopsticks in his hand and carefully looked at Yi Qingluo. You must be tired during these days in the academy. Father knows the academy is on vacation and specially asked for a few days to accompany you at home. Yi Qingluo's action of eating didn't have the slightest pause. She just lazily lifted her eyelids and glanced at Yi Tianquang. This glance made Yi Tianquang tremble all over. An inexplicable chill ran down his spine. Yi Tianquang rubbed his eyes and looked carefully again. Yi Qingluo had already lowered her head and didn't look at him again. Wherever you want to go to play, father will accompany you. Yi Tianquang took a deep breath, calmed down the shock in his heart and maintained the kind expression on his face. Yi Qingluo's lips curled into an arc of ridicule as she lazily raised her arm to support half of her face. Her smile was extremely lazy, but it also added a bit of liveliness. Her tone was extremely casual, which made her seem even more like a hooligan. Father, shouldn't you reprimand me for making eldest sister's pregnancy known to the world like before? Are you reprimanding me for stripping big sister's clothes in public and ruining the Three Springs sex reputation? The smile on Yi Tianquang's face froze. Old Madam stared at Yiqing Luo with a chilly gaze. Both of their hearts trembled violently. When Yiqing Luo saw that, she giggled. Looks like father and old ancestor still blame me. No, that's not it. Yi Tianquang abruptly stood up, his face somewhat embarrassed. In the past it was all father's fault. Father listened to Madame Yuqi, that jealous woman's words, listened to your eldest sister's slanderous words. Thousands of mistakes, it's all father's fault. Although his words were unceasingly admitting his wrongs and almost fawning. But his tone was extremely cold, extremely dry. As the saying goes, how can a father and daughter have overnight enmity? Old Madam timely opened her mouth. We're all one family, what's in the past is in the past. In the future, whether it's me or your father, we'll all stand on your side. His words sounded even better than a song. Stand by her side. Chapter 794. Seeing that Yiqing Luo remained silent for a long time, old Grandmadam continued. Old 7, I heard that you were assigned to the Devil class in the Heavenly Academy, the class that is known as Waste? Yiqing Luo's fingers dangled the chopsticks and looked at old Grandmadam with a faint smile. Yes. On the day you go to the Heavenly Academy, Grandma will go with you and ask the dean to assign you to the Low Profound class. Old Grandmadam smiled gently. No matter what, you are the daughter of the Yi family and your strength is not bad. How can you stay in the same class with that group of waste? As for Yiqing Luo's matter in the Heavenly Academy, in order to protect her own position, she naturally would not reveal a word to the Yi family. Yi Fengyu also felt that the Yi family was too biased towards his sister and felt unfair for his sister. How could he talk to these elders? In the eyes of the Yi family, Yiqing Luo was regarded as waste because of her poor performance, so she was assigned to the waste class. Old Grandmadam is right. Yi Tianquang leaned towards Yiqing Luo's direction with the expression of a doting father. You are my Yi Tianquang's daughter. No matter how poor your aptitude is, how low your profound grade is, how incompetent your ability is, you can still enter the low profound class. Obviously he had forgotten how Yiqing Luo entered the Heavenly Academy. He had also forgotten that he himself had suffered a loss in the hands of Yiqing Luo. Luo Error is in the low profound class too, right? Yi Tianquang seemed to have found a reason to belittle Yiqing Luo. His mood lightened up a little. The smile between his eyebrows also dyed with some sincerity. Don't worry, although your aptitude is not as good as you, father and old Grandmadam will do our best to let you be in the same class as you, Look, this tone, it sounds more like charity than charity, right? As if Yiqing Luo was able to enter the Heavenly Academy, it was also because of Yi Tianquang. The bamboo chopsticks in Yiqing Luo's hand, along with the swaying, left her fingers and fell on the table. Coincidentally, the bamboo chopsticks fell into the soup, splashing drops of soup onto Yi Tianquang's face. Boiling soup, just a few drops, it didn't hurt. But that kind of greasy feeling rolled down his face drop by drop. His nose was full of greasy soup smell. Yi Tianquang's complexion immediately darkened like charcoal. Just as he was about to slam the table and stand up to berate Yiqing Luo for not knowing what's good for her, he heard an elegant laughter coming from outside the door. Father's words are wrong, your words are wrong. After that, a refined young man in a bamboo-colored robe walked over slowly with a warm appearance. His footsteps were casual as he walked to the dining table and pulled out a chair as he sat down beside Yiqing Luo. When did you return? Seeing the man, Yi Tianquang's face immediately revealed a happy expression. Even the elder ancestor, who had always been sinister and taciturn, revealed joy from the bottom of his heart. This man was none other than the second young master of the Yi clan, Yi Fengru, who was known as the steward of the Yi clan. I just came back. Yi Fengru poured himself a cup of tea and took a sip. The smile on his face didn't diminish. I didn't expect that as soon as I returned, I would see Lord Father making fun of seventh younger sister. At the mention of Yiqing Luo, the happiness on Yi Tianquang's face froze. He lifted his sleeves and wiped his face, wiping away that greasy touch. Making fun? Yi Fengru was slightly startled and immediately looked at Yiqing Luo meaningfully. Seventh younger sister didn't tell Lord Father and old ancestor about your own deeds? Yiqing Luo's slender brows slightly raised as she met his pair of warm eyes. Her eyes were covered with a faint layer of deep thought. Chapter 795. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly. The smile on her face was the kind of innocence and sweetness that someone of her age should have. Second brother. Her sweet voice was crisp and pleasing to the ear. Yi Tianquang and old grandmadam were stunned. One must know that ever since Yiqing Luo returned, they had been thinking of ways and means to please her. But they didn't get any good words from her. Yi Fengru smiled more elegantly. Seventh sister. Last time Yi Fengyu had been deliberately humiliated by Madame Yuqi and had knelt to the point where his legs were almost crippled. Yi Fengru had appeared and said a few words to help Yi Fengyu, giving him the best opportunity for treatment. No matter what purpose Yi Fengru had, he helped her. That was the truth. If there were no other accidents, Yiqing Luo would choose the right time to repay him. Second brother, what did you just say about seventh brother? The great ancestor frowned slightly. He kept thinking about what Yi Fengru had just said. It seemed to be hinting at something to Yiqing Luo. Yi Fengru slowly leaned back, looking calm and smiling. Old grandmadam and father want seventh sister to enter Earth Profound Class 1? Old grandmadam nodded. Devil class is not suitable, she wanted to say, not suitable for the Yi family's reputation, but when she saw Yiqing Luo's smiling face she immediately changed her words. Devil class is not suitable for seventh sister. Even if her strength is not enough, low profound class 1 is more than enough. Yi Fengru laughed loudly. His face, which was as gentle as jade, appeared even more carefree and casual. Old grandmadam and Yi Tianquang had long been used to his character and didn't say anything. Yi Fengru waved the fan in his hand, his laughter became more wanton. Seventh sister doesn't even look at the class of gods, not to mention low profound class 1. When these words came out, old grandmadam and Yi Tianquang were stunned. What did these words mean? Not even looking at the class of gods? Did Yiqing Luo have the qualifications to enter the class of gods? Seventh younger sister is an influential figure in the Heavenly Academy. Two of the best instructors in the academy had jointly written a petition to the dean to allow seventh younger sister to enter the class of gods. Speaking of this, Yi Fengru turned his head and took a deep look at Yiqing Luo, who was squinting her eyes and staring at him as he laughed even louder. Director also had the intention to send seventh sister to the class of gods, but was rejected by seventh sister. With a ping sound, the chair Yi Tianquang was sitting on fell to the ground. Yi Tianquang looked at Yiqing Luo incredulously, his face full of astonishment. The elder ancestor couldn't believe what he was hearing. However, these words came from Yi Fengru's mouth. These words came from the mouth of their second son, grandson, whom they had always trusted and loved. It had to be 100% truth. Yiqing Luo, class of gods? And he even refused. Since when did Yiqing Luo have such a powerful ability? Yiqing Luo's half-squinted eyes slowly surfaced a layer of frost. He listened to Yi Fengru tell him everything about his school. She was surprised, but on second thought she felt relieved. Yi Fengru's aptitude would definitely be able to enter the Heavenly Academy. It should be intermediate class 2 or high-class students. What made her curious was that she had never heard of Yi Fengru's name in the academy. It was reasonable to say that this second brother of hers, whether it was his background, appearance or ability, should be outstanding in the eyes of the students. Facing Yiqing Luo's curious gaze, Yi Fengru only curled his lips, revealing a warm smile. Yiqing Luo's slender eyebrows gently knitted. Chapter 796. Yiqing Luo's heart trembled fiercely. Her eyes widened as she stood up and pointed at Yi Fengru. It's you? It's him. In the eyes of the academy's students, Devil class was the symbol of waste. As the class monitor of Intermediate Profound Class 2, how could Xianxia suddenly help Shangguan Luli to challenge Devil class? If it wasn't for someone's intentional guidance, Xianxia would absolutely look down on Devil class. And when Xianxia left, the brother Ru, that he kept mumbling about, wasn't it referring to Yi Fengru? Which meant Xianxia's challenge to Devil class was under Yi Fengru's orders. But why did Yi Fengru do this? I'm curious, a talented person like seventh sister, why is she willing to stay in Devil class, which is known as waste? Yi Fengru rubbed his chin as he smiled warmly. The truth has proven that my guess is right. Even the class of gods is unable to attract seventh sister to leave. It can be seen that Devil class must have some extraordinary magical power. This man's sensitivity was a little too strong. All the mysteries, I think. The inter-class competition 7 months later will be revealed. Yi Fengru smiled as his fingers that were tapping on the table became lighter. This second brother of hers was not an ordinary person. Seeing Yi Tianquang and old madam wanting to ask her about the class of gods, Yiqing Luo got up directly and left the hall without saying a word. At night, Yiqing Luo gave Ziling acupuncture treatment and confirmed that Ziling's leg was healing at an extremely fast speed before she was relieved. She passed Hong Mei 3 days' worth of medicinal herbs and reminded Ziling that she could get off the bed tomorrow and do her recovery on her own. Finally, she passed Ziling a profound qi mental cultivation method and sword manual and rushed over to the old mansion. The old mansion was brightly lit and 90 over mercenaries were sitting in the hall, discussing something solemnly. Yiqing Luo had just reached the hall when Long Yunzhan handed over a stack of neatly arranged information. Yiqing Luo received it and sat down beside Long Yunzhan. She lowered her head and casually flipped through the information. It was all about the background information of the tomb as well as some mechanisms and arrays outside the tomb. The first piece of information made Yiqing Luo take a few more glances. The delicate handwriting was obviously written by Peach. The ink was still wet, so he must have written it not long ago. The general content was, other than the World Group, there was another mercenary group who had also asked the 3,000 peach blossoms for information on King Ling's tomb. He heard that he had also accepted a mission in the Ling King's tomb, so he would probably bump into Yiqing Luo and the others. This wasn't the main thing that attracted Yiqing Luo's attention. Instead, that mercenary corps was a gold medal mercenary corps. Gold medal. This also meant that this mercenary group was powerful and had a high status in the mercenary world. When they set out, there was basically no mission that they could not complete. If their mission was the same as that gold medal mercenary group's, they would definitely not be able to compete with the gold mercenary group. Vice leader, if it's a gold-ranked mercenary group, we have no chance of winning. Tong Ziqing frowned as she looked at Yiqing Luo. Just now they had been discussing this issue. It was not a wise move to snatch something from a gold medal mercenary group. Moreover, it was very likely that he would incur the wrath of the gold-ranked mercenary group. By then it would definitely affect the world group's development. Because of this, they had been waiting for Yiqing Luo's idea. Chapter 797. The main hall fell into a state of silence. Quite a number of mercenaries' faces surfaced a look of shame. Yiqing Luo smiled faintly. The motive of establishing a mercenary group isn't for the mission but to train everyone better. She propped up her head as her expression didn't have much fluctuation of emotions. The real motive of heading to King Ling's tomb is to train you on how to deal with any situation, and not to complete the so-called mission. Of course, if you're able to complete the mission, then that's the best. If you're not able to complete it, but if you're able to learn something from the mission, then it's worth it. After Yiqing Luo finished her words, her half-squinted eyes slowly swept past those mercenaries who lowered their heads in silence. The entire main hall's atmosphere was extremely cold. After a long while, Yiqing Luo softened her tone as she spoke word by word. I want you to remember one point. The motive of us doing missions isn't to complete the mission, but in the process of completing the mission we're training ourselves, tempering ourselves and obtaining improvement. This is the most important prerequisite for us to complete the mission. Yiqing Luo didn't wish for her own bunch of brothers to be like the other mercenary groups, to become mission machines. To tell the truth, towards these mercenary groups' missions, whether they were able to complete it or not, wasn't especially important to Yiqing Luo. What she cared about was these brothers. In the process of completing the mission, what did they learn and what did they improve? The young mercenaries slowly raised their heads, and after looking at Yiqing Luo for some time, they nodded their heads vigorously as they responded in unison, yes. Zhao Bo and the others who were standing by the side also had a smile in their eyes. Indeed, their choice wasn't wrong. The world group was indeed different from the other groups. The world group, perhaps, wouldn't be the best developed group, but it was the most heartwarming group. This was a home, a real home. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly as the expression on her face became extremely gentle. Everyone rest early. We'll be setting off early tomorrow morning and we must use our best spirit to receive tomorrow's challenge. Yes, Vice Group Leader. The young mercenaries stood upright. Yiqing Luo glanced sideways at Long Yunzhan, Qiao Jin and the others as she stood up and looked at the brothers. I'll remind you one last time, no matter what happens tomorrow, just act according to your capabilities. The world group doesn't need people who fight with their lives on the line, but we need people who are obedient. The young mercenaries nodded. After the youths dispersed, Only Long Yunzhan, Qiao Jin, and the others remained in the entire hall. "What do you think about the Ling King's tomb mission?" Long Yunzhan asked expressionlessly. Yiqing Luo had specially asked them to stay behind, so there must be something regarding the mission that she wanted to tell them. Yiqing Luo pinched her eyebrows and put the stack of information back into her hands. "What kind of team is that gold-ranked mercenary group? Did Peach mention it?" Their gazes all focused on Qiao Jin. However, he saw that Qiao Jin's expression was a little unnatural. His gaze suddenly met Long Yunzhan's, and then he subconsciously looked away. When it finally landed on Yan Xiaoyi snorted softly and looked away. Qiao Jin opened his mouth. He pursed his lips tightly and lowered his eyes, not saying a word. Yiqing Luo looked suspiciously at the both of them. Recalling Peach's sly smile, she couldn't help but gave a light cough. Could it be? When the two of them went to the 3000 Peach Blossom group to buy information about the Ling King's tomb, they met Peach and then, something unspeakable happened. Chapter 798. It's the Death God Mercenary Group. Qiao Jin took some time before he opened his mouth weakly. Finishing his words, his vision shot towards Yan Xiaoyi's direction as his thin lips tightened. Yiqing Luo temporarily kept her curiosity and gossip as she lowered her eyelids and looked at the information in her hands. Death God Mercenary Group. She had heard of this name before. It should be said that she had seen this mercenary group's name on the Mercenary Association's honor board. Gold-ranked Mercenary Association, which was ranked third on the honor board. The number of over 9,000 people, and all of them were Nirvana Realms elites. Among them, there were close to 500 alchemists and 500 armament masters. This was a real large-scale powerhouse. Death God Mercenary Group's group leader's name was the Sky Mystic Overlord, who had the highest hopes in Nirvana Realm, Zhongjing Sihan. The eldest young master of the Zhongjing family, who was the leader of the East Continent's cultivators, was a genius child since young, and when he grew up, he did not disappoint. Now that he was just 25 years old, his name had already spread far and wide, and he had even established his own force. After this mercenary group's name was revealed, even Long Yunzhan's expression changed slightly. Following Death God Mercenary Group to Ling King's tomb, wouldn't it reduce the danger? Yiqing Luo looked at their solemn expressions as she consoled them. Death God Mercenary Group won't put us in their eyes. On the contrary, we can borrow their strength to go deeper into the tomb. Everyone broke out in cold sweat. Were they sure that it would be so smooth? Yiqing Luo suddenly put on a serious expression. I'm very clear about the dangers in Ling King's tomb. Even if God Thief follows along, I'm not assured so. No matter what happens, I hope you can protect everyone, and if the situation is not right, immediately evacuate. Long Yunzhan frowned as he gazed deeply at her. You intend to go alone? Not necessarily. Yiqing Luo interrupted his words. I won't joke around with my own life. If it was really dangerous, it might harm their brothers' lives, so the world group must evacuate. After that, she would observe the situation before deciding if she should go alone. Perhaps she could follow the Death God Mercenary Group to the place where the Corpse King was guarded. Whether she could complete the mission or not, it was up to fate. The few of them exchanged glances but didn't say a word. Yiqing Luo didn't open her mouth as she placed all her attention on the information in her hands, memorizing all the information regarding Ling King's tomb into her mind. The next day, the group went to the Ling King's tomb. It was not even 5 o'clock in the morning when the group set off. They walked until noon before they arrived at the tomb of the Ling King. The location of the Ling King's tomb was extremely remote, at the edge of the primal chaos realm. If he was the slightest bit careless, it was very likely that he would miss the location of the Ling King's tomb and directly enter the chaotic realm. It was all because of Yiqing Luo, who had memorized all the information about the Ling King's tomb. Following the outer perimeter map provided by Peach, the group of them stood safely at the entrance of the Ling King's tomb. Just as Holy Pirate had said, there were mountains surrounding them and a flood dragon outside. It was extremely dangerous. Even though they were standing outside the tomb, they could still feel the bone-chilling aura slowly approaching them. It made people shiver continuously and goosebumps appeared on their skin. Around the entrance there were still water droplets dripping from the stalactites. The dripping sound of water added a tinge of ear-piercing and treacherous to this appalling atmosphere. Some of the youngsters were already trembling slightly as their expressions turned steely green. Zhao Bo, who was standing in front, looked at the entrance of the tomb as his brows creased. Group leader, vice group leader, are we waiting for the Death God mercenary group or going in first? Chapter 799. If the Death God mercenary group entered King Ling's tomb first, they would definitely send someone to guard the entrance of the tomb, not allowing other mercenary groups or tomb robbers to enter. Being in a high position, especially for a mercenary group like them who were ranked third on the honor board, there would definitely be many people who would take the opportunity to give them a fatal blow while they were on a mission. Because of this, if they waited for the Death God mercenary group to arrive, they might be treated as a killer group with ill intentions. Not only would they attract the Death God mercenary group's suspicions, they might not even have the chance to enter King Ling's tomb. This was the reason why Yiqing Luo urged the youngsters to set off early in the morning. If they met in the tomb, the Death God mercenary group would only think of their small team as a group of children who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth and were not afraid of death. Yiqing Luo called out Shiju and asked it to search around. As for herself, she released her perception and led the youngsters towards the entrance of King Ling's tomb. The nearer they got, the more they sensed a damp smell along with the Yin wind. That smell was extremely strange as it filled their nostrils with a musty stench, making one's stomach churn. Yiqing Luo's brows creased. Even though she had been on countless of bloody corpses on the battlefield and had smelled all kinds of corpse stench towards this smell, she was not used to it. The brothers behind her would probably find it harder to adapt. Her fingertips swept across the profound phoenix ring and a palm-sized jade box appeared in her palm. Yiqing Luo passed the box over. Everyone swallow one pill before entering. The box was passed down one by one, and after those youngsters swallowed the pill, that pungent moldy smell instantly disappeared and their noses were filled with a refreshing smell. Yiqing Luo didn't bother about the youngsters' dumbstruck expressions. This was the fresh air pill which she had refined through the night. The corpse qi in the tomb was dense, and as it was in the dark all year round, the air would definitely not circulate well. If one was slightly careless, it was possible to be corroded by the yin qi. Hence she specially refined this kind of low-grade medicinal pill which was of little value. The few of them had just stepped into the tomb entrance when Qiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi carried two huge luminous pearls as they walked at the front. Tong Ziqing and Long Yunzhan walked at the back. The entire pitch-black cave became much brighter. The tomb's rock walls were still dripping with water. It was cold and smooth to the touch, extremely disgusting. If it weren't for the fact that these youths couldn't smell the stench, they would have probably vomited by now. However, the strange totem that was outlined on the dripping rock walls, as well as the feeling of yin qi assaulting them, made them feel an inexplicable sense of irritation. More than 90 people walked with trepidation for about the time it took for half an incense stick to burn. Yiqing Luo suddenly stopped in her tracks. Her gaze was fixed on a certain spot, and her expression suddenly became cold. Gather. Be careful. The 90 or so mercenaries immediately moved closer to their brothers, looking around vigilantly with a serious expression on their faces. After a moment of silence, the surroundings were quiet. Apart from their breathing, there was no other sound. The youths remained vigilant. Yiqing Luo slowly walked past Qiao Jin and walked to the front as her gaze swept across the surrounding rock walls. Her half-squinted charming eyes, in this strange tomb, seemed especially gloomy and cold. The corners of her mouth curled into a cold smile. She moved her 5 fingers and a red feather fan appeared on her fingertips like a flame. You have the guts to follow but don't have the guts to show yourself? Her words had just ended when Yiqing Luo's figure suddenly swayed and in a blink of an eye, she seemed to have blended into the air. Immediately after, Yiqing Luo's figure appeared beside one of the rock walls, and her 5 fingers pinched the top of the rock wall. Chapter 800. When the rock wall was peeled off, there were hands, legs and also a head. His neck was pressed against by Yiqing Luo's feather fan. The youngsters were instantly shocked as they looked at the person in Yiqing Luo's hand who was like a rock wall. Following that, the crowd reacted swiftly as they looked at the surrounding rock walls, staring at those strange contours of the rock walls. Qiao Jin and the others had already leapt up as they speedily pounced towards the direction of those rock walls. No wonder when they entered the tomb, their hearts felt extremely uneasy and inexplicably gloomy. It turned out that ever since they entered the tomb they had been targeted. Qiao Jin and the others moved and those rock wall people who were attached to the rock walls also gave up on their disguise. One by one, they flew out from the rock walls and directly charged towards the 90 over young mercenaries. Luckily, these youngsters had already been trained by Yiqing Luo and the others, and their reaction speed was extremely fast. At the instance when the rock wall people charged over, the young mercenaries swiftly got into formation as they swiftly drew out their own weapons and retaliated. It looked like these rock wall people totally didn't care about their comrade's life and death. Or perhaps the person in her hand was merely a small fry. Yiqing Luo's fingers locked onto the person in her hand as her feather fan curled slightly, drawing a beautiful arc. Her fingers opened up and the rock wall softly fell beneath her feet as fresh blood mixed with the wet soil on the ground. Following that, Yiqing Luo's feet moved as she dashed into this chaotic battle. There were around 20 over rock wall people and their bodies were plastered on the rock wall as a disguise, but it didn't affect their battle agility at all. Their teamwork was also very orderly. Every move seemed to be compatible with their companions. It was extremely natural. Their attacks were extremely ferocious. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes and after a few twists and turns she landed next to Zhao Bo. Zhao Bo, these people's skills don't look like an ordinary organization. To put it more accurately, they didn't look like professional killers from the killer hall. Their skills and moves, as well as the degree of tacit coordination on the contrary, seemed like a certain team. I discovered it too. Zhao Bo raised his leg and fiercely kicked away a cliff man that was pouncing towards him. His face was slightly pale. The opponent is very strong. At the very least, his profound rank should be above Mystic Profound rank 3, and his moves are very direct. Indeed, when she saw the ambush, Yiqing Luo's first reaction was, these people were the killers sent by Shangguan Liuli. But after fighting for a while, Yiqing Luo had completely dispelled this idea. Shangguan Liuli, Yan Zhan and Ji Tsongtian, these three people absolutely didn't have such a powerful trump card. Otherwise they would have taken it out long ago as their capital to flaunt their prowess. Could they be from the Blood Demon group? Or, the two of them were discussing when suddenly that rock wall man who was kicked away, under the support of his comrade, suddenly made a turn and directly attacked towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Yiqing Luo's eyes turned cold as she swiftly retreated. However, he was still a step too late. The rock man's 5 fingers had already locked onto Yiqing Luo's wrist. Yiqing Luo flipped the feather fan in her right hand and swiftly struck towards the rock man's head. That rock wall man wasn't afraid at all as he directly clasped Yiqing Luo's left index finger as his fingertip moved slightly. However, in the next second the rock man was dumbfounded. Even though his face was disguised by the rock wall, it couldn't conceal the other party's expression. Yiqing Luo's left index finger was encircled by a demonic red glow as the profound phoenix ring stuck onto her skin tightly. No matter how much strength the rock wall man used, it was unable to make the profound phoenix ring show any signs of falling off. Yiqing Luo's gaze instantly turned serene.